Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction to two big World Championship fights that happened today in Opetaia winning via TKO in round 5 versus Claudio, and Junto Nakatani winning via stoppage in round 6 versus Ryosuke Nishida to become IBF and WBC Bantamweight World Champion. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So I thought that I would kind of speak about these two cards, comparing them against each other to an extent, and just talk about them on one video, because I feel like they are both arguably in quite similar positions, both Opetaia and Nakatani, because they are both on the route of a collision course. They both have huge fights in which the fans really want to see, which I feel like probably won't happen unless His Excellency gets involved with, one of these Ring Magazine events. I just don't feel like they're going to happen otherwise, and I feel like the fans need to see it. I think they're really big for their careers, and I believe it's just the only fights that realistically make sense at this point for both of these guys. And we'll start off by speaking about Junto Nakatani's win. He obviously went out there and he has now become IBF and WBC champion. He went and unified in the division in which the bantamweight division has a different champion for every sanctioning body, and it was taken a little while to see any of the champions want to go and unify against each other. Like I said in my prediction, I was giving Nishida credit for wanting to go out there and try and unify the division against one of the top guys in the division in Junto Nakatani, one of the most hyped guys, a possible pound for pound star. A lot of people may have him in their top tens, and Junto Nakatani is a real threat to everybody in the division, and everybody in the division above as well. And he went out there and put on a really dominant performance yet again against a champion in Nishida, who, yes, is only 10-0 in the professional game, but again, like I touched upon in my prediction video, he has fought some tough guys. I mean, Diamond Higa, Emmanuel Rodriguez. These are some tough guys in the division, and Nishida was able to go and win well against them. And Nakatani just kind of went and dominated against Nishida, to be honest. He was happy to fight on the back foot, and whenever he kind of wanted to, he went and threw in flurries of combinations, and it was just too powerful and too much for Nishida. He brutally closed up his eye. Nakatani was basically just spamming the uppercuts at times and pretty much just throwing whatever he wanted at will and having success with it, and inevitably just outclassed him. I think he has a really unique style which is difficult for fighters to be able to deal with, and the way that he dominated a fellow world champion like Nishida was just so impressive that before the fight I was questioning if Nakatani should go on to try and become undisputed before he goes on to fight somebody like an Inoue, just to, build his name a bit more, build that status, and maybe, at the same time just get that bit higher of a resume against, like I say, some more world champions. But at this point in his career, when he's going and dominating a champion like Nishida the way that he did, I think he is more than ready to just go on to fight Inoue, and seemingly everybody else thinks so as well, because Inoue was in the crowd. Obviously, they didn't do any sort of face-off, which was a bit of a shame, but Inoue, yes, was in the crowd. He said on, I believe, Twitter afterwards that he was welcoming Nakatani to the super bantamweight division, and that he was hoping to seemingly get that matchup made. And I think it is the biggest fight by far in Japanese boxing at the moment, and is arguably one of the biggest fights in boxing at the moment. I think this is a time in which the lower weight divisions are getting eyes on them, and I don't think they've ever had this many eyes on them, especially Japanese lower weight division fighters. I just don't feel like have ever realistically had this much attention, and with the likes of a Nakatani and an Inoue, they've both been able to be pioneers for their country, for their weight classes, and I think it is a fight that is destined to happen. There's more big fights that are in and around both of these fighters. Of course, Inoue is going to go on to try and fight Akhmadaliev first, and that's a very tough test, so Inoue has to be able to get through that before he can even think about fighting Junto Nakatani, and maybe that's why Inoue wasn't keen on getting a face-off between Nakatani, because he didn't want to risk, jinxing, I suppose, the fight versus Akhmadaliev. But there is big fights around for both of these guys. I mean, Nakatani could stay, like I say, and try and go undisputed, but it seems like that is what's going to happen. And like I say, I think it will be excellent. Nakatani has always been big for the bantamweight division, very big for the division, seemingly to an extent. I don't know if it's a weight bully, but like I say, he is quite a big guy for the division, and it's definitely benefited him in his career. Moving up, I still believe he will be big for the super bantamweight division, but it will just be really intriguing to see. Nakatani, of course, has his awkward style to an extent and is difficult to be able to deal with. If Inoue is going to be able to catch Nakatani when he does come in, because I still believe he comes in quite clumsily, and that could perhaps lead on to Inoue being able to land a shot on him, or it might catch Inoue out. It's just such an intriguing fight, and I think it is going to hopefully be made. I mean, I know that Bob Arum was speaking about making it if Inoue gets through Akhmadaliev come maybe December time, if not early next year, but it's definitely on the bucket list of fights in which I want to see as a boxing fan as soon as possible, realistically. And yeah, that was just a great fight. And I'll speak about another fight on this card which I just wanted to touch upon before I move on to the Opetaia card, and that was Tenshin Nasukawa. He won via unanimous decision versus Victor Santillan. That was another very dominating performance from Nasukawa. He showcased a good level of skill again, fast speed, good reactions, but also at the same time he was very entertaining, which I think the fans are coming to see from him. I think there's still a few things which maybe if he goes on to fight one of the top contenders in the division, he may struggle, but realistically, if Nakatani is going up in weight, then he probably will leave the titles vacant, and then I think Nasukawa can go and easily slide into a shot of a world title shot. Who against? I'm not entirely sure, but I think it will be really exciting to see if Nasukawa could get himself in a position. He's in a position for a world title. If he actually gets a world title now, it will be exciting to see. And I think if Nakatani does go up and vacate his belts, then Nasukawa has the real makings to possibly be a star in that division, because Nakatani's the star in the bantamweight division at the moment. Now we've just lost Nishida as a champion, and realistically Takai, yes, is coming off a good first round stoppage but isn't a massive name yet. Satsumi's coming off a draw, so I think there is a real possibility for Nasukawa to come in and try and be a star in the division. And he's got this good win versus Santillan. Santillan really didn't look at the same level of Nasukawa at all, which is it's going to be difficult because this division still isn't the most stacked in the bantamweight scene. So there's still contenders that aren't possibly deserving or aren't as skilled to be kind of at that level, but Nasukawa had fun with it seemingly as well. He landed that uppercut, which was a kind of springing, bouncing, kind of Mario jump-esque uppercut, which was also, you could tell, inspired probably by anime. I don't know too much about anime, but it was Nasukawa's whole branding is that, and so that's an exciting thing as well as the fact that you can tell he wants to entertain. I mean, Santillan was just trying to swing wildly in the end of at the end of the fight, and Nasukawa was happy to kind of get involved in that as well. So again, it's something in which is going to get the fans behind him and bring that excitement. And so yeah, Nasukawa is of course still a great name to have in the division. Moving on now to speak about Jai Opetaia. Of course, he won via TKO in round 5 to remain IBF World Cruiserweight Champion and beat Claudio Squeo with ease. It seemed like at any point he could pretty much end the fight. It took a couple rounds just to, get used to what Squeo had to offer. Squeo came into the fight, everybody was expecting him to at least throw bombs. And so, Opetaia wanted to be cautious and not get caught with anything too silly in the first few rounds. I respect that. But then inevitably he was just far too much, far too powerful. I think he broke the jaw of Squeo with that shot, which, to be fair, just looked like a a typical kind of slapping hook shot. It didn't look a crazily powerful shot, but you can tell Opetaia seemingly just throws everything with a real great level of power, and inevitably was just levels better than Squeo, which I think everybody did expect. And that's at least a relief in that way to see that Opetaia, he's of course got his own fight, which is what everybody wants to see against Zurdo Ramirez lined up, and hopefully that is going to happen again at the end of this year if Zurdo Ramirez gets through Dorticos. But he's done his side of the things now, Opetaia. Now Zurdo Ramirez just has to go out there and do his side of things. Hopefully it's going to happen. I mean, Opetaia has been getting a little bits of criticism just through his matchmaking and who he's fought up against, but that's no fault of his own, realistically. I mean, the champions have just not really been wanting to fight him, and Zurdo's been kind of picking his opponents elsewhere, and not fighting bad levels of opposition, but just hasn't been wanting to go for the unification fight. And then Badou Jack just hasn't been fighting, so Opetaia has just been fighting just to keep active, to keep regular against top contenders, but inevitably he has to get to this point now where we see him against Zurdo Ramirez. It just has to happen, and I really, really, really hope it does. If Zurdo gets through Dorticos, I mean, watch him now not do that and disappoint the fans, but hopefully he will. And that's coming in the next couple of weeks, and Jai Opetaia is right there ready waiting. And another fight in which I wanted to quickly touch upon on that card was Conor Wallace winning via unanimous decision versus Dylan Collin. I think that was not an amazing performance. I think it was probably a tougher performance than what Wallace was expecting. I don't think he fought his best. He made it quite a scrappy performance. I don't know if that was Collin making it a scrappy performance, but yeah, it wasn't the best from Wallace. Wallace has now joined with Matchroom, and he's ranked highly in the light heavyweight, I think, WBO division. I think he's ranked second, and I just look at that performance and it doesn't really fill me with hope for him to go on to fight one of the top contenders and really challenge and really make a statement. I think he is just a bit too limited in his arsenal. He doesn't throw relaxed enough, comfortably enough. And again, like I say, I think if he goes to have an actual step up, which he should do at this point, saying he is ranked so highly, I think he might struggle a bit. And, if he goes on to fight maybe something like a Willie Hutchinson, which I would personally like to see him go on to fight next, then I think he could struggle a bit. And it will be interesting to see what Matchroom's plans are with somebody like a Conor Wallace, because obviously he is in such a good position ranking body wise, but maybe he's just not quite ready to fight one of the actual top guys just yet. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did. Like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.